Okay, so this is a really good question because there's multiple points to it. There's a part A, there's a B, and there's a C. So 1,000 milliliters is ordered for the patient over 8 hours. The drop factor is 10 drops per milliliter. Calculate the initial flow rate in drops per minute. So, given the information we have, we're going to take the 1,000 milliliters over the 8 hours, and we're going to multiply that by the drop factor. So all I am doing right now is getting rid of my milliliters and converting it into drops. So I'm going to have the drops on the top here, and then I'm going to have my 1 milliliter on the bottom, so those cancel out. So 1,000 multiplied by 10 would give you 10,000 drops over 8 hours. But it's asking to calculate it in drops per minute. So I'm going to first reduce this 10,000 drops over 8 hours down to how many drops per hour. So I'm going to divide 10,000 by the 8, and I get 1,250 drops per hour. And now I'm going to multiply that by the unit fraction of 1 hour is equivalent to 60 minutes. So I have my hour on the top and my minutes on the bottom because I want those hours to cancel out. So 1,250 drops divided by 60 give you 20.8 drops a minute. So that's answer A, that they did want it in drops per minute, and that's what we've given them to. So about 20.8 drops per minute, given the drop factor of 10 drops per milliliter, is what your initial flow rate is. So when we come to part B now, it says after 5 hours, 700 milliliters remain. Adjust the flow rate so it finishes on time. So we just calculated the original flow rate. Now our new flow rate, we're not going to use the 1,000 milliliters over 8 hours. We're going to use the 700 mils. But it's not going to be 8 hours, and it's not going to be 5 hours. Again, keep in mind when we're looking at a word problem, the words are very important. It says after 5 hours remain, after 5 hours, 700 milliliters remain. Adjust the flow rate so it finishes on time. On time is referring to that 8 hours. So 8 hours minus 5 hours gives you 3 hours. So there's 3 hours remaining to infuse the 700 mils. So we're going to take that, and we're still going to use the flow rate, the drop factor of 10 drops per milliliter. So we're going to multiply that by 10 GT again over the 1 mil so that those milliliters cancel out, which then give us 7,000 drops over 3 hours. So now I'm going to reduce this down, 7,000 drops divided by 3 to get it into my, per hour, which equals 2,333.3 infinity essentially drops per hour. Again, do not round. It's fine if you don't list all your digits within your calculations on the test, but the only rounding you should do is your very last answer. The more you round throughout your work, the less likely you're going to reach the right correct answer, and that's going to cost you half a mark. So again, the question is asking us here, adjust the flow rate. And so the initial flow rate we adjusted was in drops per minute. So I'm going to, again, take this 2,333 drops over that 1 hour, and I'm going to multiply it by that 1 hour over 60 minutes, so I now can get the hours canceled out and figure out drops per minute. So I'm just going to divide the 2,333 drops by 60, which gives me 38.888888, so 38.9 drops per minute. So for part C, it's asking if the facility has a policy that the flow rate adjustment must not exceed 25% of the original flow rate, was the adjustment within the guidelines? So our original flow rate we calculated to be 20.8 drops per minute. Our new flow rate we calculated was 38.9. So we cannot exceed 25% of the original. So how do we find out what 25% is? So we're going to take that original flow rate, which is 20.8 drops per minute, and we're going to multiply that by that 25%. But we can't just multiply it by 25%. It actually has to go into its decimal. So instead of writing 25%, you would have 25 divided by 100, which would give you 0.25. So when we multiply 20.8 by 0.25, we get 5.2 drops a minute. So what that means, what this 5.2 is telling us, is that the highest we can go, we must not exceed 25% of the original. 25% of 20.8 is 5.2. So if we add those together to get that high level, we essentially get 26 drops per minute. So this is the upper level. We cannot exceed that. So clearly, when we look at our new flow rate, which is 38.9 drops per minute, that is much higher than the 26. So to answer C, we cannot do the new flow rate. It's not allowed because of the policy.